Welcome back to the channel. Our video today is titled Hardcore Sulforaphane. We're going to talk about how to efficiently generate sulforaphane. This is the fifth in a series on how to generate sulforaphane and represents the latest innovations on my part. Let's face it, generating meaningful amounts of sulforaphane is hard work and requires a certain amount of precision. Most people are only generating nitriles the whole time they think they're generating sulforaphane. You will know when you're doing it right because the end result smells and tastes horrible. Sulforaphane will water your nose and make the back of your throat burn a little. I really got tired of keeping a daily sprouting operation, then boiling and then homogenizing the sprouts. The latest process entails growing 48-hour broccoli sprouts that you then steam for 5 minutes. The reason why we must steam them rather than boil them is to prevent the glucoraphanin from leaching into the boiling water. The steaming destroys the nitrile specifier proteins as well as the myrosinase that are in the sprouts. This is critical because these nitrile specifier proteins are what cause the hydrolyzation of the glucoraphanin to produce nitriles instead of sulforaphane. Once these sprouts have been denatured, you then must dehydrate and then grind them to a fine powder. You then store the resultant powder in a glass jar with a lid in the refrigerator. This powder contains glucoraphanin, but has no myrosinase. You're probably saying that you can readily buy broccoli seed sprouts that have been powdered, and you would be correct. What they don't tell you is that the powder also contains those nasty little nitrile specifier proteins. If the sprout has not been denatured before grinding, then it will generate very little sulforaphane when hydrolyzed. When you want to make a batch of sulforaphane, you take the sprout powder, some mustard powder, some baking soda, and some water and mix them thoroughly. The result will generate a significant amount of sulforaphane. The following is the recipe that I use. 1 teaspoon of sprout powder, 1/8 teaspoon mustard powder, 1/8 teaspoon baking soda, and 150 milliliters of water. You combine all these and stir these items for 30 minutes at 110 degrees Fahrenheit. The result will be quite smelly, which is a sure sign you have successfully generated sulforaphane. So let's look at this process in action. Okay, we're back in the kitchen this morning to show you how this is all going to work. We've got 150 milliliters of water. We've got our mustard powder. We've got our baking soda. And we have our jar of denatured Brussels sprout powder. Okay, first we're going to put our stirring element. And we're going to start to stir. And you can see a nice little whirlwind in there. And we're going to take 1/8 teaspoon of baking soda, put it in there. And we're going to take our 1/8 teaspoon of mustard powder. We got that going. I forgot our timer. I've got the timer out here. Now we're going to start the chemical reaction going. So I'm going to set that for 30 minutes right now because it's going to start happening as soon as I put this in here. I'm just going to take our powder, we put it in there, and away it goes. You can smell at that time, hardly smells at all.
but it's waiting 30 minutes and it's going to have a rather foul taste.
As you can see, this is a fairly easy process. You do not have to use a heated stir. You can just add the ingredients into a glass and mix with a spoon. However, it will not produce near the amount of sulforaphane as the heated 30-minute stir will. Prolonged dilution is a critical element. You need to let the sulforaphane form before blending with anything else. Again, a disclaimer, I am not recommending anyone ingest anything. I make a batch of sprout powder about once a month. Unless you do it right, the process can be quite messy and tedious. What you will need are the following items: broccoli seeds, stainless steel steaming basket, it's got to be a fine mesh, stainless steel pot big enough to hold your steaming basket, a dehydrator large enough to hold your steaming basket, and a spray bottle. Okay, this is the process. Number 1, germinate the seeds in the steaming basket for 48 hours. First 12 hours are totally submerged. Then hydrate every 12 hours thereafter. And I use a spray bottle for the hydration. Step 2, steam the 48-hour sprouts for 5 minutes. You want to make sure that the boiling bubbles don't come in contact with the sprouts, or else you're going to leach out glucoraphanin. Third step, dehydrate the sprouts. Fourth step, grind the dehydrated sprouts in a high-speed blender or grinder to a powder consistency. Okay, we're back in the kitchen, and we're going to go through the process of powdering broccoli seeds, sprouts. We need a spray bottle. We need some broccoli seeds. We need a steamer. And in this particular one, it's got a fine mesh, but it's not quite fine enough. So if you can see in here, I put in a screen door cutout, little plastic thing, and it seems to work really well. I got a pot for steaming, and I've got a Nesco dehydrator here. So the first step we would do, we would take the seeds and we pour it in the steamer. And I put about almost a ½ inch of seeds in this thing. And then what I would do is I would put it in the pot, and I'd fill it up about, I'd say, 1 inch of water above where the seeds are. And then let that sit for 12 hours, and then take them out, and then pour off this water, put them back in, and then I would spray them every 12 hours to hydrate them. Okay? Now at the end of 12 hours, or 48 hours, and I would take the sprouts back out, and I would fill the pan up with about a ½ inch of water. Now I've modified this steamer here, and I put 1 inch legs, and it's got almost I'd say 3/4 inch legs on it. And the reason why I have it that way is I don't want the bubbles coming up and hitting the seeds. So once we put the water in here, I bring it to a boil, and then I put the seeds in it, put the lid back on it, and steam it for 5 minutes. At the end of 5 minutes, I would bring it over to my hydrator, which I kind of modified, and then it lift the sprouts out, put them in, and then I would, didn't seem to go in there quite right. There it goes. And put them on, and I dry them. It probably takes about 4 to 5 hours to dry it. And then once they're dried, then you can just take this out, and then you can just pour them into your blender, and then grind them up to a fine powder. And what you wind up with is something very similar to this. You can see it's just a kind of a tan colored powder. and this is what you're looking for. The efficiency of this process is that the seeds/sprouts stay in the same container, i.e. the steamer basket, throughout the entire process, right up to when you pour them into the blender or grinder. So there you have it. Final disclaimer, I am not recommending anyone ingest anything. Thanks for watching. If you like it, hit the like button and subscribe. Thank you.